Alright, we're back again with another video. This time we're talking about using equipment in the gym. I wrote up 10 pieces of equipment that I do use, or anybody can use in any gym. And also, I start my top 3. I'm also explaining how to use each one. So, let's talk about the belt. The first 3 are my top 3. If out of all 10 of these, if I had to choose just 3 things that any gym goer, not just powerlifter, but anyone could use, I would only choose these 3. So the first one is a belt. So the purpose of a belt is to, once you start getting the heavy weight, is to keep that intra-abdominal pressure sealed in. So if you took a deep breath and you pushed down on your stomach, you get a nice, like if somebody's about to punch you in the stomach, that's your intra-abdominal pressure. Take a deep breath, and what you're doing is pushing down on that belt. So that belt supports that intra-abdominal pressure. So when you start getting really heavy weight with squats and deadlifts, and some people even using a bench, that's I guess if you bench heavy enough, or Olympic weightlifting, use a belt, and now save your back, your low back, and because it's helping you on that intra-abdominal pressure. But in order to use this belt correctly, you have to take a deep breath. People just think putting on a belt helps you out. No, you still have to be able to create your own, basically invisible belt when using a belt. So when you put the belt on, it basically does double the work and helps you out better. Next thing up is knee sleeves. Depending what knee sleeves you get, Ray-Ban, SBD, all those other knee sleeves, there's like a million knee sleeves out there nowadays. Depending which ones you get, they're not going to add any weight onto your squat, deadlift, or whatever you're using for, or any of your lifting. It's just basically to keep that joint warm, and so you can just keep that synovial fluid moving throughout that joint, and it's going to help you when it comes down to squatting, and it's going to keep your knees, keep them healthy over time. Next is wrist wraps. Basically, anytime you press, bench press, overhead press, any kind of Olympic lifting, throw these bad boys on when you get the heavy weight, especially if you got a little small wrist like mine. Wrist wraps help. Now, wrist straps are the ones where you wrap around the bar. You see a lot of people using them for deadlifts or like back workouts or something like that. Wrist straps get a bad name because people will think that people are cheating when they're using wrist straps, or like when they deadlift. For example, I use wrist straps because I don't have a problem with my grip. So every time I do an AMRAP, I'll put some wrist straps on because I don't have a problem with my grip. So I'm just adding that extra weight onto getting another rep or putting more stress on the muscles so I can make better gains. So that's why I use wrist straps. Now, if you do have a problem with your grip, then I suggest you don't use the wrist straps and work on your grip. But since I don't have a problem with my grip, so when I get to like AMRAPs or heavier sets and want to use more reps, I put on some wrist straps. Knee wraps. Now, knee wraps, some powerlifting federations call them, it's considered raw. Some federations don't. Olympic weightlifting, you can't use knee wraps. You might be able to use ace bandages and you wrap them around your knees. But in powerlifting, some federations you can use knee wraps and call it raw, and some you can't. If you're not a powerlifter, honestly, I would not use knee wraps. I just stick with the knee sleeves. Knee wraps will add, especially if you know how to use them, weight onto your squat. Depending which ones you get, it can be anywhere from 15 to, if you're one of those big old boys, you can get maybe 50 pounds on your squat if you crank them really hard. But I suggest not using knee wraps unless you're a powerlifter and you know how to use them properly, because you can mess with your knees. All this equipment is about using it properly, so it can help you in the long run to keep your knees safe. Because once you do get the heavy weight, these knee wraps will help your knees and keep them healthy. Weightlifting shoes. You do not need weightlifting shoes. You don't need them. Everybody's getting them nowadays. CrossFitters, powerlifters, just regular average gym goers who only squat once a month are getting weightlifting shoes. I don't understand. I have weightlifting shoes. I love my weightlifting shoes. I use them probably 4 times a week, but I actually use mine, But also, I do go through months without using them so I can increase my mobility in that ankle. If you do have bad mobility in your ankle, weightlifting shoes are something to get, but they are expensive. So if you don't have the money, just work on your mobility, and you don't have to get any weightlifting shoes. Flat shoes. Reebok has those flat powerlifting shoes out. Nike has those Metcons. Any kind of flat shoe, Chucks, Vans. I don't care. They're flat. Wear them. Go to gym, squat, deadlift. Do what you gotta do. If your gym lets you, take your shoes off and squat and deadlift. Weightlifting shoes are very expensive. If you have the money, get you some. If you don't, that's just something you don't need. Chalk. If your gym lets you use chalk, use it. If you have problems with your grip, use it. It's better than using wrist straps. Chalk, you don't need chalk. I see a lot of people that coat their hands in chalk. I'm a powerlifter. I don't use chalk until I have to get over 450. Once I go over 450 on deadlifts, I'll use chalk. But any time before that, I don't use chalk unless my hands are really sweaty or it's humid outside, because I'm just working on my grip. Like I said, I don't have bad grip, so I don't use chalk. Chains, bands, and blocks. These three right here, a lot of people might not even have them in their gym, but you don't need chains, bands, and blocks. Maybe if you're a powerlifter, you might need chains, bands, and blocks, but there's nothing wrong with good old bench pressing, deadlifting, and squatting. If you're using chains, do not use bands. If you're using bands, do not use chains. There's no point. There's literally no point of using chains and bands at the same time. Literally no point. Because if you're using bands for accommodating resistance, why are you going to put chains on to put more accommodating resistance? Just add a 45. There's no point in using chains and bands. I see that a lot nowadays. People just using all kinds of stuff. I'll see people using blocks, bands, and chains all at the same time. It doesn't make any sense to me. I can understand block, like if you're doing deadlifting from the block, you might want to add some chains on. Or if you're doing reverse banded deadlifts and you want to do it from the block. Or, mixing two together somehow, some variation. Or if you're doing block press off the bench and you might want to add some chains or something. But doing reverse banded deadlifts with chains on from the block does not make any sense to me. Don't do it. These three you honestly don't need to use. Alright? If you don't know how to use them, don't use them. Okay? But they are good. They are good. Let me get to the good side. The chains are good for accommodating resistance. Bands, you can use them reverse banded, which is going to help you at the bottom, and you're going to feel all the way at the top. And then blocks is basically helping you on your lockout, whether it's deadlift or if it's bench press. So that's it for this gear, equipment and gear. Like I said, if I had to choose three, I'll choose belt, knee sleeves, and wrist wraps. And if you don't know how to use any of this, do some research, and don't just go in there using equipment that you don't know how to use. And one is, it can increase injury when it's not supposed to, and it's supposed to help you in the long term. So that's it.